What's going on, guys? It's the Money Talk Show with Dane, where we talk about all sorts of interesting topics having to do with money, specifically crypto and real estate here. So, if those are topics that are interesting to you, you're in the right place at the right time. We're doing our best to help be the bridge between entrepreneurs and real estate and other fields and crypto because we feel like, and if you look at the price charts, it seems to be a fact that the best opportunity over the next few years is cryptocurrency to generate wealth, and there will be other opportunities to preserve wealth, like Corey says, in real estate. So, welcome. We're pumped to have everybody. We have an excellent guest on the show today that we're excited about. But of course, before we get to that, Corey, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, thanks, my friend. I appreciate it. Crypto Millionaires with Corey Geary here, and just truly blessed to be on this ride and journey with all of you guys. Whether you're in real estate and trying to get a little bit of exposure into crypto, which I think every single one of you guys should have a piece in your portfolio of this beautiful asset class, or if you're in crypto and you're just rocking and rolling this RH ecosystem with us, where, like Dane said earlier, I think we are in the right place at the right time. We couldn't be lined up for the absolute massive wealth that we're going to see coming in the next bull run. And so it's just truly an honor and blessing to be here and to learn about the things that are going to be shaping the landscape of crypto going into the future here, especially with the RH ecosystem. And one of those projects I feel like can be an absolute game changer is this guy right here named Stu Man. He's creating stuff that's really effing cool, I think, where you can literally think about this, guys, where you have all these things in DeFi that you got to do, whether you're compounding or you want to buy and sell, you got limit orders. There's so many things that you could do. And think about if you could just automate everything you possibly can do in DeFi, whether it's a very complicated red squirrel compound strategy, or it's just a matter of like you wanting to pull out your Pulse Bitcoin and then re-put it in the contract every 30 days because you don't want to get in there every 30 days and do that action. Well, there's something that someone is creating. Stu Man's creating a thing called Tetra that can do just that. And I'm going to let him explain that. But first, Stu, you explain that. Can you dive into a little bit of your story, how you got into crypto, and why are you creating projects? What's kind of everything of all about Stu Man?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, background is architecture. So I was an architect here in the UK for.
That makes sense.
It does make sense. There's some of the terminology in Tetra that the community are trying to force me to use that's kind of architect related. It's like a homage to Stu and his background, but. You know, as far as that's concerned, you know, qualified architect. I worked in the commercial sector here in the UK for a number of years. Funnily enough, actually, my first position was with a bank here in Scotland, and I was charged with managing all the drawings for all the bank property across the whole of the UK. So that was an interesting position I had, but mostly been self-employed, run my own practice. And identified a gap in the market as far as design was concerned. So went away, learned how to program. Me and my business partner at the time, we had this idea, and it was like, we need to build this because if we don't build it, then somebody else is going to build it. And ironically, it was a drag and drop type tool that simplified design, right? I taught self-taught programmer. I already knew how to script and stuff like that because I was using CAD and CAM softwares, as well as building information modeling products, and it required you to have a certain level of being able to program, if you like, and scripting and stuff like that. So I already had a natural ability with numbers and stuff. So picking up object-oriented programming was really straightforward, and I enjoy it as well. So you get this escapism when you're writing code. It's just everything else is blanked out. But anyway,
you guys are a gift to the world.
Yeah. So in any case, we built the product. We hired a couple of graduate engineers. Eventually, I had like about 20 people working for me. We conquered the UK market. We conquered Europe, and then I ended up selling out to a US company that I then worked with. Well, they were one of our only competitors. And as soon as we started to kind of move into the States with what we were doing, it's like, wait a minute, Stu, you're not coming on our turf, so we'll just buy you. So so that's what happened. And then I ended up working for them for about 18 months. And how did I get it? And then, I've really just been sort of doing various different things since then, a bit of consultancy and construction, and then obviously what we're doing with Tetra and things like that as well. So I've got the luxury of being able to, choose what I want to spend my time on, if you like. But how did I get into crypto? So about 2 or 3 years ago, at least now anyway, I was kind of trading on centralized exchanges, Coinbase, and it was one of my friends who had kind of made some money in crypto, and he just kept bragging about it, and I was just like, all right, okay, I need to have a look at this, right? It's one of those ones. And so I was trading on exchanges, and then it's difficult to try and think of the timelines sometimes. It was at least a couple of years ago anyway, and I had been contacted by a mutual friend, so a person that I was doing some work with at the time. We became friends with this guy based down in London, and he sent us some links on Richard Hart and Hex, and he sent me a Conrad Zen video, right? And I watched the video. I was like, what the hell is this? I was just like, the boats and the planes and stuff. I was like, this just feels wrong. And then obviously I started to watch the video. I started watching the RH videos and, starting to understand what he was about. And suddenly I just was, fell in love with what he was saying and what he was doing. I was like, this is amazing. And then started to really get into DeFi and understand what DeFi meant. I had historical stuff when I was like, less than, between 18 and 20, where I had, my identity stolen with a bank, and I had nightmares trying to get credit and all this kind of stuff, right? And it's just like the control that the financial system has over everybody is just horrible, right? So and I've never been somebody to conform either. I like to break the rules. Well, not break the rules, but definitely bend the rules. But this just feels like it's right up my street. So my passion for DeFi didn't take long to manifest, but I've learned for the best as well. I feel that as well. And being part of the RH ecosystem, Pulse Chain, Hex community has just been, a fantastic experience as well. So many smart people sharing ideas, everybody looking out for each other as well, which is really important. And here we are building Tetra, which is basically taking, previous experience in a totally different sector and trying to apply the same principles to simplify the DeFi experience, allow you to automate stuff, give you time back basically, but give you a better opportunity to get into DeFi, make it easier. What are the barriers of entry? Well, let's make that easy, right? So kind of Tetra's going to do a lot of those things, and I feel that the tools and the offering that we have as the services that Tetra will provide is going to allow people to do things that they may not have been able to do, or may not have the time to learn. I want to be a liquidity provider. I want to be a V3 liquidity provider. It's like, right, okay, well, you need to go and do this, and or you can just go to Tetra and use the LP like strategy template and run it and manage your V3 liquidity. That's it. Simple. Drag and drop, click and go, and go back to the beach and enjoy your life. You know what I mean?
It reminds me of a
there's a lot of feedback in our group where you go on a centralized exchange like a Coinbase, and you can set it up to automatically buy a little bit for you every week. It'll do the dollar cost averaging, and they're like, well, can't we just do that in DeFi? And the answer is no right now. Like, there's just not. In fact, it can kind of be a part-time. I feel like a part-time job, depending upon how you build your portfolio. So it's cool that you guys are building what you are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of a Zapier for Web 2 protocols. You know what I mean? Or if then what is it? If then protocol that you can do. You can set up steps in certain Web 2 web pages. So it reminds me of stuff like that. But
absolutely, yeah. I mean that is very similar. I mean, one of the things, like, just to draw a direct comparison with that, right? So Zapier, you go to the Zapier website, and that tool only supports the protocol, or say the protocols, the software systems that they decide, right? So you've got Google, you've got Google Mail, Google Calendars, you've got
EPC or something,
CRM systems, and all these different things, right? But they kind of need to program that into the system to allow you to then use those automations. Tetra's different because it's like an editor tool, if you like. So you can be the one that creates the automations yourself. So you've got the ability to be able to develop your own automations. And what we're doing with the tools is that we're providing an interface that goes and scans these different smart contracts and provides a unified interface back to the front end. So you can integrate whatever it is that you're doing in a completely systematic way that looks and feels the same, regardless of what protocol you're using. So it's like the D app of all D apps, is one way of looking at it. You're going to be able to spin up a front end for pretty much any contract if you want. That's kind of one of the core features that just does that. But then obviously, if you want to take that as a block, you can then start to implement different stages. So it's kind of like the if then, or if that then this scenario. Yeah, exactly. So you have your strategy wallet, you've got some coins sitting in there, and then you're waiting for a certain market condition to present itself. Let's say it's to buy Hex, right? So when Hex reaches 1.5 cents again, hopefully we might get another chance to buy some more. That's like what I call a visual limit order, right? So it would wait until that happens, but rather than going to match XYZ to try and fill a limit order on that exchange, what Tetra can do is it can scan across multiple liquidity pools. So you're actually market buying it at the price that you want it, rather than filling an order. Right.
Really? Because you can get passed on and match XYZ with the orders. Like your order can get passed on for US residents. You can only set an order for a limit order for up to 7 days. Like it's not very user friendly.
Yeah, you have to have large orders in matcha. You're right, Dane, but you don't get passed on. They value the big orders first. So like, you have a $1,000 limit order, it's going to fill that one first versus a $5,000 limit order.
Exactly. So this again, it's breaking down the barriers and giving everybody an equal opportunity to be able to do stuff on the blockchain. And that's just the way it is.
And if I'm understanding right, then you could tell it to, okay, now to go buy this Hex at the at the desired price that you had put in the Tetra protocol. But then you can also, then after it buys a Hex, it could go and stake a piece of it for you. Right, and then keep some liquid, or maybe it stakes some natively, then and that piece here and gets staked into an HSI stake for a different, and have different time periods. Maybe this one is staked for 2 years, this one is staked for 15 years, and HSI stake, and it can all be automatic, right?
Absolutely, yeah. You can automate all of that stuff.
Yeah, what's the interface like? So, there's a lot of people, and this is, so I want to push back or maybe push back is the wrong terminology, but a lot of the stuff that's being built for Pulse Chain is very cool. Things like this that are more advanced. I mean, most user adoption is going to be retail investors that are not real savvy. How is the dashboard? What's it like to use? Is it something that you need to be a programmer to use? Could a novice go in and use it pretty easily, build out a strategy that they like? What does that look like?
Yeah. It's basically drag and drop. So you're going to have, and forgive the terminology because we are obviously developing this right now, and we're playing around with different names for different components and things like that. It's like what I was saying with the architecture stuff. A lot of the community are chiming in and sort of coming up with new ideas for different elements of what the interface does. So we'll get that nailed, but ultimately what we're just calling it at the minute is like a block, right? So in the user interface, you've got a block, and you basically drag and drop that block from the options directly into what you would call the canvas, right? That's the area where you can edit stuff. When that block's in the editor, you can then choose what contract it goes to connect to. And then you can set a bunch of different parameters in there. Then effectively what you're doing is you draw a line from so there's like inputs and outputs that go into that block, right? And then you want to basically take a line from the output of that block into a conditional block, as we call it, right? So the condition, that's the if that, then this block, right? So you're basically saying is that, when this happens, right, take your initial coins or capital and go and buy that, right? And then from that point, you then draw on another line. And then it could be to another if statement, or it could be to, various other different things. But basically, you're creating, connections between these blocks that tell the blocks within the whole system what it needs to do, right? And then when you're finished creating that setup, which is effectively like a strategy, it kind of just looks like these flow graphs that Red Squirrel and Crypto Sloth kind of, put out there. It's quite similar, although there's a bit more technicality to it, right? If you visualize that, then you're pretty much there with what the front end looks like. And then once you've got the picture of your strategy in terms of this is what I want it to do, then you deploy it straight to the blockchain, and then you deploy it in what we call a strategy wallet. You own the keys to that wallet. The protocol has nothing to do with it. You're effectively deploying your own smart contract to the blockchain that has this information in it, right? And then it goes away and it executes this stuff. We're looking at loads of different ways for optimizing gas and things like that, especially when it comes to other networks. I mean, Ethereum, it's going to be, unless you're pulling together with a bunch of people, it's going to be expensive, right? But there are still benefits in doing it, because you've still got your cost of doing business on Ethereum, regardless of whether you're using Tetra or not, right? So if you want to automate it, then fine. It's still going to cost the same in gas as what it would cost if you were to manually execute it, right? So as long as there's a market for Ethereum, there's a market for Tetra. And we kind of think of ourselves as being like a Uniswap type protocol. It's like, we want everybody to use us, and we want to work with every single protocol. So we're kind of agnostic in that sense, but we're providing a tool that allows you to interact on the blockchain easier. And regardless of whether you're using Tetra to do it and automate it, or you're doing it manually, the gas is still the same. There's no getting away from it, right? So that's kind of how it looks and feels. And
let's touch on the gas real quick. I want to touch there. What if you're in say you built out a 5-step process in the Tetra system, right? It's gonna go and do and execute all these things on the blockchain. What if one gets stuck because of the gas? Like, are you able to go in there and increase the gas in that transaction and maneuver things around to make it like? Can you go in there and change while it's being executed? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, as long as you don't renounce so there's two options, right? You can keep the keys to the smart contract, right, or the strategy wallet, as we call it, and that's generated from your MetaMask wallet, right? So you log into the DApp with your MetaMask, right, and then your address that you use from MetaMask is effectively the owner of the smart contract or the strategy wallet that gets deployed to the blockchain, right? Now, if you're using Tetra to build a yield-bearing strategy that's for a currently existing protocol, right, then if you wanted to, you could renounce that contract. So there's no admin keys, and it's totally immutable, right? Or if you're an individual, or it's your family or a group of friends, and you all trust and know each other or whatever, right? And you want the ability to be able to edit it, you can keep the keys. You don't need to renounce it. But it's only you. You're the only person that owns the contract. So you're the only person that can actually edit it. So you can edit it. And you can create, if there's a problem with gas, or if someone gets stuck somewhere, or, something happens in the market and an asset that you wanted to get no longer exists, or it was a rug pull for, whatever reason, anything, then you could go in and you can remove that, or you can change it, and you can edit it like you would a normal file, if you like, right? So think of your smart contract as being a file of the Tetra system, right? And you can still edit that file and update it or change it or do whatever you want.
Very cool. And it sounds like you theoretically could, I mean, you could build a monster of a strategy if you wanted. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's really capped, right? You could theoretically have 1,000 steps in it and do a million different things if you really wanted to spend the time to build out something that sophisticated.
You mean like Red Squirrel stuff?
Yes, like this stuff.
That's it. I mean, and the thing is that you could just deploy multiple different strategies independently if you wanted, or you could have one master, crazy like Red Squirrel thing that is doing 1,000 different things and it's looping the whole thing around and round and round. But then it's like at one point it could be taking that yield, right, and taking it through the off ramp straight into your bank account every month or every whatever, right? So that could be just running there in the background, and as long as it continues to bear yield, then it generates that yield, and then it sticks it in a transaction and puts it straight into the off ramp, right into your bank account.
Very.
So it could go as far as using an off ramp.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. We're actually we are going to be working with Coast on our off ramp.
Oh, yeah.
So they're busy building at the minute as well, obviously, but we're in touch with them. And they're going to be providing a software development kit, an SDK, and API endpoints and stuff like that. So we'll be able to tap into their system, but it will be unified as part of our front end. At least that's what we're expecting based on the discussions that we've had. So we're using their back end services, right? But it's part of the front end experience of using Tetra, and that goes for anybody that wants to integrate with the Coast on off ramp system as well. So they're doing a great job. They're obviously putting in all the legwork to get the money transmitter licenses and the regulations and whatever it is that they need. I don't know. I've not looked into the details of that, but it's obviously there are regulations in place and that there's boxes that need to be ticked, and they're doing that. So we'll be able to tap into that, and it's great because as far as the pulse chain ecosystem is concerned, it's like you've got so many people building so many cool things. As far as we're concerned with Tetra, we just want to be sitting right in the middle. And it's like if you want to go and use the Power City Dex aggregator or their multi-chain tools or whatever, right? And you can just do that using Tetra and loop the whole thing round and automate your DeFi. That's what it is. Automate anything you can do manually. You're going to be able to automate it with Tetra.
That's insane, guys. Before we continue, smash the likes, please. Smash the likes and hit subscribe if you guys are first timers here. So please, helps the algorithm. Let's get Stu Man's word out there.
Absolutely. We've got a bunch of newer people here, or not necessarily newer, but people from across the pond in Australia and Europe here, which is cool. So it's great to have you guys on. We appreciate you being here. I'm curious, Stu, with so you have your, I believe, did you call it a strategy wallet? Is that accurate?
Yes.
So with your strategy wallet, is there any safeguards in place that theoretically you could build a strategy and run a test of sorts before you're putting real crypto at play, so that you could make sure that the because I'm just thinking like I can imagine when I started in crypto, I was super excited about DeFi, and I could just imagine me going in there, not knowing what I do today, getting really excited and building this thing that I hoped was going to work really well. And it didn't, because I lacked the knowledge to be able to build it correctly. And I put the crypto in, and poof, something goes wrong and I lose it. Is there some sort of fail safe in there for that?
Absolutely. Yeah. We've spent a lot of time on trying to make sure that we are not only just providing a minimum level of security, as well as various different things, but enhancing it as well. And I'll cover as much of that as possible. But specifically in the question that you're asking, yes is the answer. In Tetra, you're going to be able to backtest. So you can go in, you can build a strategy, and you could choose a time frame to go and test the strategy. It's like a simulation mode, right? And that's going to use historical data. Funnily enough, actually, I was just speaking to Gamma DevOps. I don't know if you know Gamma, but
yeah,
he's yeah. So he's going to be potentially putting together an archive node for us pretty soon, because we're going to need to be. That's one of the next things that we need to have access to, is an archive node that has historical Ethereum mainnet data on it.
The whole blockchain.
Yeah, everything. And it's funny, actually, I was on the phone to him last night, right? Now, hear this, I know it's a bit of a deviation, but it's an interesting point, right? It's pretty expensive and quite time-consuming to get an archive node up and running, right? And then you've got the ongoing maintenance costs. And then it was, and I don't know why I never even thought of this, right? And Gamma said to me last night, he's like, well, wait a minute, Stu. He's like, you want a test net that has basically all the historical mainnet data on it, so that you can use it for back testing, and you're not using a mainnet node, because obviously we don't want to pay gas while we're testing, right? And then as he was saying it, like the penny dropped. I was like, V3 is basically a test net with historical mainnet data on it. And he was kind of saying, like, I don't know if you even need me. He's like, just wait a few days and you'll have V3, and then you've got everything you need. I was like, wow.
I love Gamma.
Oh, it's awesome. Great. It's so smart. Like, in any case, we still need them. We definitely still need them to do a few things for us, but that's by the wayside. But I thought that was an interesting kind of point to raise, that people don't realize. I mean, it's just a test net. I know people are getting really excited about it, but I've been trying to not be excited about it because it's just a test net. But now I'm actually like, all right, I need V3 quite quickly now. I want it now because it solves quite a big problem for us, right? But in any case, from a security standpoint, obviously, if you're coming into the system, you want to put together a strategy. You're going to have the ability to be able to back test it. And I think I've illustrated that quite well. And that's one of the things that we're going to be moving on to next in terms of the development side of things. We're just in the process of getting the user interface finished and connecting that up to get that working and get something functional. By which time, by the way, we're going to be able to share some screenshots and illustrate to people exactly how it's going to look and feel as well. So back testing is going to be a really important feature for people to be able to test out strategies and choose a time frame to run it and back test it and get results pretty much on the fly straight away, so you can have a bit of confidence in whatever it is that you're going to deploy, that it's going to work, and that ultimately it's going to bear yield, which is the whole point of it as well, right?
Right. In the back testing, so you're going to be using test nets in order to do the back testing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, this is what we're speaking to Gamma about at the minute, because I need to figure out exactly what's possible, because this is a problem that's not yet been solved, if you like, as far as we're concerned. Can we have a test net that effectively is always up to date, or do we just have it like update occasionally? I know Alex from Hedron is doing stuff in terms of like providing nodes and services and stuff like that. So I maybe need to speak to him and see if he's going to have an up-to-date archive node that runs on a test net that updates maybe every 24 hours or updates, daily or whatever, right? Every couple of days. Yeah, exactly. I know we were speaking to him yesterday as well in the Builders Guild chat, and he was talking about like how some of the, I mean, this is beyond me, some of this stuff that him and Gamma are doing, right? It's complicated stuff. It's different to what you're doing when you're building for the blockchain, but it's good to understand that. But I mean, he was talking about update times and specific, whether it's do you know what? I'm not even going to try and explain it, but because it's above my pay grade. But he knows what he's doing, right? So, but ultimately, if he's going to have a service that we can tap into that has that archive data, then we're going to use that, obviously, right? So, and I'm sure there's other sources out there as well, but yeah.
I love it. That's really cool. Talk about, if you would. So that brings me to my next question. I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this a lot. So it feels to me, and this is my lack. We are going to put it on full display. My lack of understanding when it comes to programming on the blockchain here. but it feels like, and help my understanding here, I think there's a lot of people that have this similar concern. It feels like if I was a hacker, that there's a lot of attack vectors if in a strategy like, like you could build with Tetra. There's a lot of potential points that I could go and attack and theoretically create issues. What do you do to protect against that and mitigate risk? We understand nothing is, especially in crypto, nothing's guaranteed, and there's always probabilities that things could
Yeah.
go badly. What do you do to protect
That's a
against
great question.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. So fundamentally, what's important to remember is that the smart contract is, could have an owner or it could be renounced. So any potential attack vectors then come from what is effectively in the code, or what the contract is programmed to physically do. Now, there are certain things that can be implemented that are features and options when you deploy that from Tetra. Some simple ones is like multi-sig options. But other features is that you can put limited spend limits that the contract actually has, right? So the contract can only spend specific amounts based on what the strategy does. So that's like a prerequisite that can be put in there to basically say it cannot spend any more than this amount in a transaction. Additional to that, we have a whitelisting feature. So when you deploy the contract, then the contract itself can only spend up to a capped amount, but only for these whitelisted assets as well. So if you have if it's only like looping between 2 or 3 different assets, then the only things that you really want it to be able to spend is those 2 assets plus the stable coins for your capital and gas, and that's it. So there are things that are in there that effectively, so to give you an example, if somebody sent nefarious tokens to a strategy contract or a strategy wallet, the wallet or the contract physically cannot do anything with it, right? It's just not able to, as far as the code is concerned. So it's quite strict in terms of what it does. It performs a function, and that's it. As far as other attack vectors are concerned, it's no less. It would be no less secure than any other contract that was owned by anybody on the blockchain, or in fact a contract that was renounced. It's interesting because when you take security as a sort of key point when it comes to any platform, whether it's blockchain or anything, you normally find that the biggest security risk is the human element, right? If people follow the fundamental principles of what keeps their stuff secure, the risks as far as what we're doing with Tetra and being able to just deploy your own smart contract, the inherent risks are always going to be there from a human standpoint. So, use a hardware wallet, don't give out your seed phrase, blah, blah, blah. It's the usual. It's the same when it comes to deploying your own contract. I mean, that has, a key to access it. And if you hand that key out or you leak it through, however it gets leaked, or somebody hacks into your computer and steals it, or somebody turns up at your door and puts a gun against your head and said, "Give me your seed phrase, or I'm going to pull the trigger." Right? These are things that create risk. So we want to educate people as well on best practices, as well as the fact that actually deploying a strategy wallet, your own smart contract, is actually an enhanced security benefit, because if somebody did get a hold of your MetaMask keys, or you get hacked or whatever, they're not necessarily going to know that you've got assets hidden, if you like, on the blockchain within that contract. So there can be triggers that the contract can have. So let's take an example where you did lose your private keys, right, or whatever, and you can't access your wallet, or you get hacked and that's it, you're locked out, right? But your strategy wallet still exists. Now, you could have, let's say it was a predetermined amount or some sort of signal that contract can get externally, right? Like a deposit of this or whatever, that then triggers like a security lockdown, right? And what it does is it then takes all the assets in the contract and sends it off to a vault address that you have the keys to. So you've still got a way of being able to get tokens back that might exist within a contract that you own, but you lose the keys to it, or you get hacked or whatever. So there's stuff there that you can do that can help mitigate it, and that's all part of what Tetra is. I mean, Red Squirrel as well came out with a contract idea that you could build using Tetra, and it was like he calls it the Squirrel Sentinel, right? And he's still working on it, right? He keeps sending me this stuff, right? And it's like, what the hell are you? What are you doing now, man? Anyway, we love him. But in any case, so he's came up with this idea where the contract itself has the gas paid for by another contract, right? And it's like all this other. I need to get it out and look at it. I've got Telegram shut at the minute just because internet connection speeds and stuff. But it's all the stuff on that's in the Tetra community group. So him and Crypto Sloth and Neil for T-Shares set up a community group that's all about discussion and strategies, and they've got other stuff published in there, and he just published that one recently, I think. So yeah, so there's loads of different things that you can implement, not only into the strategy wallet itself, but as well as that you've got potential recovery features, and various different things. Let's take another example, right? It's similar to what we discussed there. We're all, as humans, we're frail, right? And I don't know how many people other than you yourself know how to access your crypto, right? So if the worst was to happen, then how do your family know when your hex stakes end, or how do I even get in it? What is MetaMask, right? You say that to your wife, she like, what is MetaMask, right? We've all been there, but you know what I'm saying, right? But let's say the worst happened, there could be another element where there's like a timer in that contract where it goes and does something at a specific date if you've not been back to kind of take a look at it maybe for 2 years or whatever, right? So it then sends it off to like one central location, and you can leave the instructions to your loved ones, and this is going to happen on this day if whatever, right? So at least then for people that you trust, that when it comes, we're talking like doom and gloom stuff here, right? But you get the point. You get the point.
Well, I love the application because you have scenarios where you end up, like you're saying, something bad happens, or you're indisposed for some reason, your hex stakes come due, you can't do anything, they start bleeding out, and now you're in a bad spot. That's freaking beautiful. It's cool how you could absolutely set it up as part of a wheel type of thing. In fact, you could build a strategy, program it to sell the top of the market or near the top according to different parameters. And then, like you're saying, include a, hey, if I'm not back here by X date, then send it here. Oh man, really like that.
They can send it to the OX Coast off ramp, and they can end up in a bank account somewhere.
Exactly. I know.
Oh my God, that is okay. You're blowing my mind, Stu.
Well, the thing is that
talk about your so you've got your strategy wallet. Could you implement a hardware wallet in your strategies and use the smart contract without compromising your security?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the hardware wallet could own the keys to the smart contract, right?
Right. But I guess in my head, because I've got to go and confirm all the transactions on my hardware wallet right now, right? When I'm on
what you're doing though, what you're effectively doing is, like I was saying with the whitelisting, what I was saying with the spend limits, all of that stuff is pre-signed in advance by the hardware wallet. So it's a pre-signed contract, if you like. All the permissions are created in advance. You don't even need it. You don't even need those permissions to come from your hardware wallet. The permissions are within the smart contract that you deploy. That's where the permissions exist. It's not the permissions are not granted on the hardware wallet. The hardware wallet simply owns the contract. So the permissions are generated within the smart contract itself. It's like Inception. It's a dream within a dream, right? But the hardware wallet is the thing that owns the stuff that's inside the dream, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that
Yeah,
well.
no,
it
that's
makes sense.
beautiful.
It made sense.
Hmm.
I like that Dane's asking the audience on some applications for this. While we're waiting for that, can you please? I want to make sure we get this out before the show ends. Can you please explain to us and the audience how do we get our hands on Tetra? We want the token. I want the token. I want to
Yeah.
hold it. I want to stake it. I want to earn the fees. I feel like a lot of smart people are going to be using this protocol, like Crypto Sloth and freaking Red Squirrel and Neil for T-shares. These guys are going to be in there building like crazy, and I just want some passive income from it.
Sure. Yeah, of
And
course.
talk about the sacrifice too as part of that, if you would.
Oh, well, unfortunately, there is no sacrifice. There is no sacrifice. So we had so for
Could you please
Tetra,
do
we had
one?
a private. Yeah, I know. Sorry. We had one sacrifice for reflection, right? And I'll tell you right now, it was really stressful. I lost a lot of sleep during it. It was, it's a big responsibility. People don't actually realize when it comes to running a sacrifice and you're charged with that is a big responsibility. And after that, I said, whether we build new stuff in the future or whatever, I'm never having another sacrifice. So we had a private investment round for Tetra that topped up the funds that we'd got through the sacrifice for reflection. There's no venture capital. It's all people that are active within the Pulse Chain community. It's kind of my inner circle and a little bit more than that. And obviously, we've been doing a lot of stuff in secret up until we're starting to talk about stuff. I wanted to get things to a point where we're going to be so well ahead that anybody that wanted to try and copy this, it's like you're too late. Apart from the fact we've got patents pending and stuff like that as well on some of the technology to protect ourselves. But in essence, there is no sacrifice. We're at the private investment round. We are launching a protocol at the end of this month, which is the R1 protocol. And R1, and you can go check all this stuff out on the website. And if you want to get some Tetra, you can buy on the open market R1. There's no team tokens, by the way. There's a small airdrop to those that sacrifice for reflection, and which is R2, and those that run the private funding round for Tetra. So they guys get like 10% each divvied up between them all, and then the other 80% is basically open market as well as stake and rewards, and it's like a fixed supply. It represents 10% of the total supply of Tetra, and then you can burn it and get Tetra. So up until the point,
deflationary as well.
Yeah, it's deflationary through purchase and manual burn. It's not deflationary where we pre-mint loads of tokens, right, and then only 1% becomes the circulating supply, and then we just burn the other 99%, which is completely useless. There's no point in doing that, right? This is deflationary through open market buys. So when you buy your R1 tokens from Uniswap, you can go and stake them and earn more R1. And then ultimately, you're then taking all of that and burning it or some of it to get Tetra, whatever, or you can sell it or whatever. It's up to you.
Why would I want to keep any R1 besides the burning of Tetra? What other use case would R1 have?
It has no other use case. It's a project. It's a protocol that we put together for the community. That we said, because of the delays with Pulse Chain, and we've been sitting for almost a year now as far as the R2 reflection sacrifice set was concerned. And then October last year, when we says, right, we're going to develop Tetra. This is what it's going to do. And I've been thinking about this for a while. It was actually on the table when we launched Reflection as well. But in any case, regardless of that, we decided, because of the delays, having the time to explore the opportunities with the Pulse Chain delays, we said October last year, right, we're going to do this, and this is how it's going to work. Everybody that sacrificed for reflection are still going to get everything that I've promised that you're going to get. But if you want, there's a migration opportunity here to get to the the real end goal, which is now going to be Tetra. So R1 was a kind of bolt on to the front end of that gives people a small opportunity to get into the ecosystem if they never sacrificed for reflection, which was like, it was May last year. And obviously the private funding round, because we said that we didn't want another sacrifice. Frankly, we didn't need a sacrifice. We raised the funds that we needed for the development, and the people that we've got involved from a founder's perspective are great people, and they're going to help in tremendous ways, being advocates and champions for the system going forward once we're out there. So, and so if you want to get Tetra, take a look at the website. Go to the Tetra website, tetra.one. And then if you go and click on the link in there, it's the journey to Tetra. And we've got some visual explanations how all of this kind of works. Some people are
one more time.
Is it Tetra.one?
.one,
yeah.
O-O-N-E?
No, W-I-N. W-I-N. Win.
Okay.
Win. Tetra.win. Okay.
It's really important for me to mention as well that you do not need to hold any of the ecosystem tokens that we're generating to use Tetra. Tetra is going to be available for everybody. It's a software as a service, just like Microsoft Office, right? Except you don't pay a monthly fee to use their software, to use our software as in theirs. You just pay for what you actually use. So there's some fees, which is
talk about the fee structure a little bit.
Yeah. So here we go. Right. So
it's fun.
0.5%, right, on each step within a transaction, which equates to if one step in a transaction was $100, then you would pay the protocol 50 cents. That's basically it.
Wow.
In what? In ETH?
We've said it's going to be in a stable coin. So we'll have a whitelist of stable coins, and that'll be your payment method.
And you would need to hold some stable coins, almost
just
like gas.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got it. Very cool.
But it would tell you, I mean, we're going to have it so that it calculates what your fees would be in advance as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, you're telling the system what you want it to do. So you're giving it the inputs that it needs to be able to just do a basic maths calculation. Well, if this goes as it's planned to go, then your fees to use the protocol are going to be around about this. So put that into your contract, plus say 10%, just in case, right? And then have your gas in there as well. It'll be able to pre-calculate and give you an idea on your gas. And we're also going to have like a companion app on your phone. So that is just going to monitor, but that's not a tool. That's not going to be a tool that you can use to change anything. It's just going to be a tool that you can get alerts, push notifications, and it'll tell you that step in your strategy has executed, or you're running low on gas. You need to top up your strategy wallet with some gas, stuff like that, right? Yeah.
Oh man, we're excited. This is just nuts. Talk about. I want to make sure that we do all the. You guys deserve all the due credit. This is pretty remarkable. Why would somebody own the Tetra coin? Now, my understanding is if you own the Tetra coin, there will be an option to stake it and earn a portion of the fees that are generated. Is that accurate, or am I mistaken?
I need to be careful about how I describe this, but I'll try and do it in such a way that doesn't class it as any type of securities and stuff like that, right? Sure. But ultimately, let's look at another thing as an example, right? If you have a company, right, and people own shares within that company, right? If that company makes a profit, then the shareholders get the profits proportionately based on the amount of shares that they own in the company.
Kind of like a stock dividend almost.
Well, you can call it what you want. It's, Tetra tokens can be staked and you get fees for the protocol. It's just that simple.
Okay, fair enough. Oh,
My
man.
favorite. Neil Fortiche made a really good point here This is literally, you can build projects without coding experience. That's the best way to really kind of wrap your head around this. You can get as creative as you want and create smart contracts or create the experience of the blockchain that you desire without the coding experience. That is massively impactful.
It's zero code. Yeah, absolutely.
That is
zero
so
code.
impactful.
Yeah.
This is like the first of a kind that I've heard of. Now, I know Power City has something similar going on in theirs. I don't think it's nearly as robust as this.
Jeez.
I'm not sure on theirs, but yeah, it's.
I mean, Amplifier is a totally different beast, and we love Power City. We love Amplifier. We love everything that we are not in competition with anything that anybody else is doing. There's nobody out there doing anything like what we are doing.
I agree.
It's that simple. I
agree.
But
I hate that I'm going to have to fight everybody for the R1 token, and I'm sure it's going to moon, and it's going to, you know, that part's going to suck. That's why I have a fight.
Well, no expectations. No expectations. But, you know, it is what it is. It's important to remember as well is that we're going to have disclaimers there. Keep that note up there for Neil, and I'll come back to a bit more on that in a second. But just while we're talking about R1, you know, we're going to have like big, bold disclaimers on there where right next to the buy button, and it's like, do not buy R1 unless you intend to burn it through the system to get to Tetra. Because the liquidity that's in the pools for R1 is going to, like, it's automatically and dynamically be reallocated through the protocol. So when you burn your tokens, if you get some R1, if you manage to get it, and you can stake it and get more, whatever, right? Your sort of share of the pool, if you like, as far as the value side of the pool is concerned, will get reallocated through the system when you burn your allocation. So you can sell it if you want, right? Or you can burn it to get the next step in the protocol. But by doing that, you get a dollar rate equivalent plus 10% bonus. So there's always an incentive to stay in the protocol. The liquidity will get moved dynamically when people burn. And that's important because we want all the value to stay in the ecosystem for the people that get involved in buying R1 and stuff like that, right? But the disclaimer is going to be there. It's like, if you are buying this because for any other reason than burning it, then, you know, we're advising that you shouldn't buy it, right? So then it's up to people to make their own decisions if they want to buy it and do what they want. There's always going to be an exit. So it's not like if you've bought something and you forgot about it and you never intended to burn it, right? And let's say that pool was drained because all the liquidity is moved over to the next step in the ecosystem process, right? You could still burn it and get the 10% and then sell it on that side, if you like. So everybody's always got an exit, if you like. But we want to almost make each step like R1, R2. We almost want it to feel redundant as the next step like comes to fruition and then ultimately get to Tetra. So, you know, there's an incentive to move through each of the protocols and burn it to get to Tetra, which effectively makes the other tokens like redundant, if you like. So it's the journey to Tetra.
Wouldn't that moon the price of wouldn't that moon the price of R1 then? It's just going to pump it to the moon?
Well, we want a nice chart that I can brag about as well when it comes to talking about Tetra in the future. So,
okay, so we need to be early in this. It launches. Yeah.
Well, so how did the tokenomics?
It's the same as any project. Yeah, be an early. Absolutely.
Yeah, so you can always swap your R1 for essentially 110% of Tetra, right? You get a 10% bonus when you burn it, irrespective of the dollar value. And so theoretically, there's an ARB there.
Yes, there is. It would actually, so the ARB opportunity is between R1 and R2, because you would burn R1 to get R2, and then if you wanted to move to Tetra, you burn R2 to get to Tetra. So the ARB opportunity, you're right, you're absolutely right. And when R2 becomes available, Tetra will be launched at the same time. So you could use Tetra to do your ARBs for you between R1 and R2. And you could use it to really stock up. It's crazy, yeah.
Oh, jeez, I love it.
You guys are too
cool.
cheap.
I'm thinking like with the With the bank run on stables, you could set up a strategy there as well, where if one of your stables
Absolutely.
started losing value, you could swap it to others. And
That's
I
it.
mean,
Yeah. Red
the
Squirrel
tables-
came up with, yeah, well, he's got the Red Squirrel three-way ARB strategy, which is liquid loans, Power Cities Earn token, and their stable coin. Is it? Well, I can't even remember what's it. PLS
or is
X?
that
No,
LUSD?
PL.
Or
No, it's not. No,
PDCX?
I can't remember. I'd need to check it. There's so many different things you need to remember. But anyway, their stable coin, the Power City stable coin, the
It's
liquid
like
loan stable coin,
PDCX
and
or
the
something like that.
yeah, that's the one. That's it. Yeah. And then you've got the Coast stable coin as well. So he's set up a strategy that arbs between all three of those. And this is a really good important point to note as terms of what Tetra, is actually going to do for the whole ecosystem as well, because creating that opportunity for people to automatically arb between each of these different stable coins actually helps to bring health and stability to those
It keeps
stable coins
pricing.
themselves.
Yes, it does.
Now, rather than having retail and commercial money controlling the stability of stable coins, what if all the economic energy, the people, right? You're giving power to the people, right? And all the collective economic energy, everybody coming together to take advantage of those opportunities are the ones that actually provide the stability to the system through Tetra, and that has to be a good thing, right?
Jeez.
Yeah, you're giving it to the people instead of bots and everything else. Yeah, we get the opportunity.
In fact, Crypto Sloth is in the comments. Crypto Sloth,
Yeah.
love for your commentary if you're willing on what you think that might do with Hedron and Icosa. I mean, right now they're way below the hex ceiling price. I'm curious what your opinion might be in regards to, the ARB opportunities there. If that could help close the gap on the ceiling price, that's an interesting theory. PSI 931, great question. Would love to hear some ideas of what you guys might use Tetra for based on what you've heard so far. Where's your brain at, Corey?
I mean, the Red Squirrel stuff, if you go to Red Squirrel's Twitter page, he's got so many different DeFi compounding strategies. And so the compounding strategy is what I'm really mostly interested in. Obviously, with some of the safety mechanisms built in, I like that idea because I first heard about that initially with Matty Allen and his vault system that he's doing for Pulse Chain and Pulse X. And where you have a 7-day safety mechanism if they were to get hacked, and then it triggers to a different wallet. I love that. So that's another very big interest of me. And I had one of my my one-on-ones yesterday, and we were doing the Pulse Bitcoin, and it was simple as, you go in there every 30 days and you got to undo the ASIC token and restake them. He's like, and he literally asked me, it was this question. He's like, hey man, is there any way I could automate this off the here every 30 days? I don't want to come in here every 30 days. I'm like, actually, bro, watch our show tomorrow because we got a dude. We got a dude down there. He's got it figured out. And so there's so many different ways that you can really think of where this would be creative.
You know where it'd be really interesting are the Crypto Sloth is commenting here. It'd be really interesting in the HSI auctions if you could build a strategy that said, hey, I want to automatically go in there. Any stakes that are this number of T shares or greater, I want to activate those for bidding. And then I want to bid on anything that's at this certain discount up to this point. And you could do all that. You could do all that in the contract, and you don't have the risk of fat fingering, putting in the numbers wrong with how much Hedron you're going to bid. You could make that system way more freaking efficient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I love the auctions. That's where I picked up the majority of my T share recently. Was via the auctions. I'm a big advocate of Icosa and Hedron. Obviously, I think Crypto Sloth showed up today because I wore the Hedron shirt. It's the only reason why he showed up, because if you say Hedron on the show, Randy Hilarski all the time, he'll mention Hedron just to get Crypto Sloth to come out of the woodwork, and it works like clockwork. So I just got to wear the shirt.
It's a calling card, man. I like it. So here's a good question: Can you batch mint NFTs with Tetra?
Yeah, Absolutely. Yep.
Well, so
We're
okay,
going to.
so let's run with this idea. So let's say that there's a new, let's say Corey and I want to launch an NFT project. It's a real estate based one where people can buy interest via NFTs in a real estate project that we're putting together. I mean, there are going to be so many projects on Pulse Chain. What are you guys doing in order to bring, to bring automation to those? Do the teams approach you to be able to, have your help? Is there some way that you're able to keep track of all that crap? Like that sounds like
Or
an
do they approach
enormous.
like Red Score was in building every single day? Like you approach
No, I
a
mean,
builder.
well, yeah. I mean, we are creating strategic partnerships with projects on Pulse Chain as well as other networks as well, where they're going to have like protocol endorsed strategies, if you like, where it's kind of like they've endorsed it themselves, and they would have like a landing page on the Tetra D app that they could send, their communities and say, right, if you want to automate, your ASIC miners or whatever, depend. I'm not saying that we've got a partnership with them, but I'm just using that as an example. You could go and do your automations that are specific for our protocol over on the whatever protocol.tetra.1, right? So we will have sort of like front ends that will be tailored for specific protocols, and there'll be strategies in there that are for that protocol, and it it's something for them to promote and for them to offer as added value to their communities, right? And the reality of the situation is that anybody can build any of this stuff, right? And we don't even need to have any of these strategic partnerships or anything like that for people to build stuff they want. So if you guys deployed an NFT contract that did what you said it was going to do, you could go to Tetra and you could create a batch minter that basically you're saying, go to this NFT contract that I've just deployed on the blockchain, call this function and do it 10 times, right? And that's it, or however many times you want. And you just drop the gas in, you drop the funds in that's needed to be able to do whatever it is that you wanted to do. And it could batch mint, it could literally anything that you can do manually can be automated with Tetra. It's if you keep
So is
that.
there almost like an indexer that's pulling all of the smart contracts? Let's use Pulse Chain for an example. Pulling
This is our
all of the
secret
smart.
sauce. This is our secret sauce. Yeah.
So okay, so you don't need
yeah,
to do anything. Okay, so theoretically, it'll all be available. I mean, relatively quickly. It sounds like some sort of
instantly.
indexing to pull all that stuff, so
It's
you can
instant.
always be.
When you put the contract
Mm.
address in for the NFT contract, it goes straight to the blockchain and it pulls back the ABI data, which is the machine code, right? It processes it and then it gives you the interface in the same way as it would with any other contract on the blockchain, in a consistent, systematic way. And that's it. So
And
it presents
is it pretty instantaneous?
instant. It's pretty much instant. Yeah.
Jeez.
So all you're doing is you're using the on-chain data to generate a user interface that allows you to connect to it. It's the DApp of all DApps, right? Here's another example. If you go to Etherscan right now, right, and you look up any contract on Etherscan and click the contract button, the tab at the bottom, right, it has the input fields for all the different functions within the contract that you can call, right?
Yeah.
It's like that, but much more advanced.
Jeez. You've got my wheels spinning.
I know there's so much.
I'm gonna have to take an afternoon and decompress and map out. This is a lot bigger than I originally anticipated.
Yeah, we are a sleeping giant. I don't think people fully grasp what it is that we're doing, or they find it too complicated. And that is the complete opposite of what we're actually trying to do. We're talking about it, and what we're actually building is really complicated from a build perspective, right? But when it comes to people being able to use the system, they're going to be presented with a beautiful, easy to use, user-friendly interface that is going to improve the blockchain experience. And we're actually decentralizing DeFi like a step further by doing this. Because if you're in a region where a smart contract is being classed as you can't use that hurricane contract or whatever it could be called, right? I'm
Oh,
not
the
going to say any
Hurricane,
name.
the
No,
mixer.
I'm not. No, it's well, you know, it could be a hurricane, it could be whatever global catastrophic effect it's called, right? I'm not going to say it, right? But there's a contract out there
Yeah.
that has
Yeah, I
been
know it.
that has been blacklisted in the States, right? Now, the contract still exists on the blockchain. You guys just can't access it because somebody somewhere said turn off the access to that website, which is a Web 2 interface that connects to
Right.
the Web 3 backend stuff. Tetra is a DApp for any contract. It's the DApp of all DApps. So you could point it to any contract and get any user interface to do anything you want. So the use case for Tetra is endless. And
It's humongous.
it's endless, and it's only limited by your imagination as far as
Exactly.
as far as interacting on the blockchain is concerned. Anything you could do manually, you can automate it with Tetra. But then there's all the other bells and whistles stuff that we're putting in there as well. That's just going to make it like super cool. So there is an element of what we're doing here is we are taking a further step to decentralize DeFi, like another step, if you like, by doing this. And obviously our code is immutable. All the stuff that's on the blockchain is going to be renounced. No admin keys. It's going to tick all the boxes that it needs to tick, So there we go.
This is definitely my sentiment. PSI 931. This is why I don't try to come up with the strats. Way smarter people out there. The commission for using people's strats will keep this evolving far into the future and allow Joe Schmo to utilize it. You nailed it. There's going to be some smart individuals really building some amazing, cool stuff. Some smart individuals who don't know coding too. You don't know you have to know how to code. And someone like me, who I'm not like, I just want simplicity, right? And I'll look at this and go, oh my God, you can see the amazing features that this other person built, and you pay a little small commission and you're off to the races. I mean, it's just, I cannot wait for this.
Well, you think about it. So, like, here's a scenario that many crypto people find themselves in. They take profits, and they find out pretty quickly, if they haven't already, that they get slaughtered in taxes, depending upon where you live. I mean, you could go and we all, or at least I feel very confident that the blockchain, I mean, there will be other asset classes that reside there that theoretically could offer a tax shelter, like real estate. If you purchase it, part of your strategy, you could literally build it in and you could say, here's my taxable burden because of the profits that I've taken. And in time, as those other asset classes become available, you could naturally go and set up a strategy where you bought, and maybe it's an NFT that represents ownership in real estate that could give you a tax break. You could do all the math and make it so that, like, you're buying other asset classes, make it so you pay no taxes via the depreciation that you're offered in other industries. And gosh.
So I need to be really careful about what I talk about with taxes, because the UK government just published the 2023 budget, and anybody that promotes, one of the things is anybody that promotes a tax avoidance scheme can now face a prison sentence. So I need to be very, very careful. As far as Tetra's concerned, it's not, you could use it to do whatever you want. And if that's one of the things that you could do it to optimize that, then great. But I cannot condone that or say that you can use it for any
that's
kind of avoidance. Yeah,
that's fair. I can respect that.
The point is, you can do it. You can do anything.
Yeah, you have optionality. It's up to you as the end user to choose how to utilize it.
Yeah.
Love it. Neil for T-shirt. Shout out to Neil. So Neil, Crypto Sloth, Red Squirrel, they're all building strategies. These are the guys that we've talked about. In fact, do you know, Stu, what the Telegram is? How can people find the Telegram to come into the strategies?
I've got Telegram closed at the minute, but maybe
Oh.
if Neil's there, he can fire the link into the comments, and then you could publish it up.
Yeah, absolutely. I found it. So you can go to, I'll put in the comments, it's t.me / Tetra strategy community. These guys are all
Yes.
building insane strategies to be able to come and utilize Tetra. Corey and I tend to not be the best people at coming up with original ideas, but we're freaking very good at running
I
with
don't need
ideas
to.
that are already built
Yeah, exactly.
and optimizing
I got a
them.
lot
So
more smarter people than me. They'll create stuff that I will jive with afterwards. And like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I'll
you can add
implement. I
to
don't
it.
mind paying that little fee. And then I plan on owning some Tetra coins. So I'll be getting those fees back to the coins.
Yeah, and we don't give any financial advice on the show, so make sure nothing that you're listening
Correct.
to. This is just educational, and entertainment purposes.
What I'm
Stu,
doing.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Do you guys have Stu? And I don't know if you can say anything to this respect. If you can, great. If not, just say so. But do you guys have any price targets for fee generation for the Tetra coin that you're anticipating? There is no protocol that I'm aware of that is like you guys, and so we can't look elsewhere and say, oh, this protocol generated this fees, and so we're anticipating something similar. But do you guys have some sort of
So,
targets that you're looking at?
well, what I can say is that based on very, very conservative numbers, very conservative, the fee generation is insane, right? And we're talking like being conservative and then cutting it in half. I'm not gonna set any expectations in terms of what
Sure.
that is. But if you want to join that Telegram group that you spoke about there and ask in the community, there are people that have created spreadsheets that are nothing to do with me. The community is just like running with this. There is a spreadsheet out there somewhere that gives you a pretty accurate kind of idea of what might happen. But of course, it's nothing to do with me, and these are just speculative guesstimates, shall we say?
Yeah. No expectations. I love
Exactly.
it.
And I'm in it for the
yeah.
tech as well. So,
I mean, me too, but I like number go up also. I like both.
of course, of course.
So I'm gonna put on the let me go ahead and let's see if I did this
Yeah, see if
correctly.
you could drop it in, Dane.
Yeah, so I'll put the
There
banner
you
here.
go. Is that
So
right?
this is where you can go and find the Telegram group t.me / Tetra strategy community and check out all the stuff that people are building in there. It's it's a giant ecosystem in and of itself. I'm thinking, man, there might be an interesting opportunity for you. I mean, I guess somebody else could build it, but almost like a project launch pad of sorts that could be part of Tetra. I mean, it doesn't have to be, it could be separate, but it'd be interesting to be able to have a place where guys could say, hey, we're launching a protocol and specifically, we've built it to be able to integrate with these other strategies via Tetra. Come and look at us, type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's something that we've thought about. Our mouths are kind of full at the minute in terms of what we're doing
I imagine.
right
I
now.
would say. I would say.
But there's other ideas. There's other stuff that I'm thinking about. There's other stuff that I've kind of put together some use case tests on as well that even goes further than what Tetra's doing, but still builds on the fundamentals. And it's kind of like a 2.0 thing, which is separate but runs in parallel. And that could kind of be home for that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, what we're doing here is we're creating a suite of tools that just allows people to go and do what the hell they want on the blockchain, just make it
That's what
easier.
it sounds like.
You know what I mean? So in terms of what we start to do after that, that could be one option, a launch pad, all these kind of things. There's already loads of launch pads out there, but what we're going to be able to offer that's different is the fact that you can deploy project smart contracts straight for the Tetra system and have like yield bearing strategies as part of that running in the background, delivering yield to holders of that token. So there's so many different things that you can do. like I said, you're just limited by your imagination. So you could use Tetra as it would be for version 1.0 to launch a project. We just don't necessarily have like a place where it's advertised on our system. And I don't know if we really want to go down that road. It's like we're agnostic. It's there for everybody. And, you know, we need to educate the community on how to use it properly as well. And all of that kind of stuff. And I don't want to be constantly looking over my shoulder where somebody's building like, you know, protocols that are never going to succeed and stuff like that or whatever. I really don't want it to be associated with what we're doing.
Right,
We are like, we're just like Uniswap, right? It's like, we don't care, right? Everybody can be part of this. Tetra is kind of has to take that approach.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. What is PSI 931 talking about here, Stu? I think the volume. You guys will potentially have spent PR holders.
That was a joke. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll maybe tokenize a single haggis on Burns Night, and we'll do like an airdrop or something. I don't know.
This is a great comment. Squirrel, Neil, Sloth, Haunted are crushing the strats already. Absolutely. So go check out that T.me group on Telegram where you can go and see what's going on there.
I'll be in there tonight reading through a lot of these to see which ones I jive with and I want to implement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And love this. So we haven't hit on this point real hard, but I think it's really cool. So if you build a dope strategy that people want to utilize, then you can get a in fact, talk about the commission structure. How does that work?
We've actually not set that because it's part of like the fees thing where we've said that that's what it's going to be, but you know, there's a bit of flexibility in there. It's certainly not going to be any more than what we're saying, but you know, a small incentive portion of whatever fees are generated from a strategy that somebody creates will go back to the strategy creator, right? And you know, we want to incentivize people creating strategies, obviously, and that's like what PSI was saying there is that that's going to help to provide value in the future as well. So when new shiny stuff comes out, then you know there might be a strategy for that, and it's like I want more shiny stuff, so I could use that strategy to get that, you know. So,
and I want to automate it.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But I mean, again, just to clarify, I want to drive this one home is that to use Tetra, you don't need to hold any Tetra tokens. You don't need to hold any R1, R2. It's available for everybody to use, regardless of sort of ecosystem tokens, if you like.
Jeez. Here's a good comment. There are currently so many strategies from this gentleman, and I particularly love the ARB strat and the security strat. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially I love the security strategies. Anytime we're talking about August token.
Cool. I look forward to the first project to use Tetra to launch. That would be awesome. Really crazy to talk about. Man.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. No, this has been great. So we've seen a number of streams that you've been on, and they've been really good. I've been trying to nail down like actual strategy and real life examples. So back to the question of like how you could use this, really like it for the Hedron and Icosa system. Hex staking is, you know, that's a cool option. Your HSI stakes. I mean, the Pulse Bitcoin, there's so many freaking opportunities.
And you can intermingle them.
Yeah,
you know,
I really like the application for the protocols like PulseX or Famous or Fiat, where you're not going to be bound by time. You can go and you could pull. So here's one. So here's so this is like my simple brain coming in here, but like I've been wondering, I'm like, man, I want to go and I want to front run the PulseX yield that I'm going to be making. Because in my opinion, if you wait and you're getting yield in these third-party tokens, if you're waiting till that period is done, the 30 or 40 or 60 days, and you're just getting it until that pool is done, well, people like me and Corey are going to have been dumping that token the whole time. And so your value at the end of that is going to be a fraction of what it could early on. And so if you could go and be scraping that and selling it off at the best times and you're gonna
automatically.
get better yield. And I love the option to be able to go and automate that.
Yeah, yeah, loads of different ideas about. I mean, yeah, literally anything. It's not very often somebody could come along and sort of say that like unlimited use case, but it's a bold statement, but it's true as far as Tetra's concerned.
This is a cool one. Instead of a token to build on a protocol like Maxi, for example, people can build a strategy on Tetra. Then we don't have a million tokens coming out with sacks of all time. This is a great point. And there's been a lot of sacrifices so far that have been rug pulls. People have lost their money.
Yep.
And rather than hoping that somebody is going to be able to pull off a project, you could come in and just build a strategy. That is an excellent point.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent point. Cool. Well, my brain is
hurting,
maxed out this morning. This was excellent. Appreciate all the comments in the show. You guys were great. We invite you to come back. We do this almost every single day, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 Mountain Standard Time. We went a little bit longer today because this has easily been one of our best shows. And so with that, are there things that you guys want to hit on before we wrap it up today?
I've got all my questions answered for me. Stu, I know you don't like shilling and don't like promoting, I guess, or talking about sacks, obviously. But what do you want to share with our audience? Where would you like to point them?
Just take a look at the website. Take a look at what we're building. If you're one of the Galaxy brains with loads of ideas on strategies, come and join the strategy group and get involved in the discussion. Yeah, absolutely. We are currently in development. We've got a really clear goal in terms of what we're doing and what we're building, but we're listening to the community as we're going as well. So, there's been some good suggestions, and, it's just get involved, be engaged. There's nobody needs to make any kind of financial commitments to use Tetra in the future. So it's like, come and learn what it's all about and just be part of this journey that we're on now. So, we want as many people to use Tetra as possible. We want to get the tools out there and put them in the hands of everybody. So, if you're early and you kind of understand what this is and what it can do and how to use it, then that's going to put you at a really great advantage when the tools become available as well. So I would encourage everybody to educate themselves on what we're doing.
Absolutely. Oh, one last question. Will you guys is there any reason that you won't be available to use pretty quickly after Pulse Chain launches?
We're looking at a end of summer this year launch. So, I mean, don't know, when is Pulse Chain going to launch? If you can tell me that, then I can answer the question, I guess.
but that's good. So you guys will be done end of summerish, and then of course, depending upon when Pulse Chain is around. Okay, cool. That gives a good timeline.
I want to know if they're going to stake the Haggis token.
Yeah, you can stake it. Yeah,
you guys got jokes.
Yeah.
Good question. What time do our streams start? So we've been on today for almost an hour and a half. So we started about an hour and a half from now, whatever that puts you in your time zone. That's 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so, yeah, love to have you guys back. We tried to
Monday through
dive
Friday.
in deep.
Yep.
And our priority here is, yeah, absolutely. Our priority here is to cut through the narratives. You guys see them on Twitter all day long. A lot of them are not accurate. We want to make sure that we're cutting through the BS to get through to the real information, to be able to help build good strategies, to help people make the best profits, rather than people telling you just to buy something forever and it's only going to go up. So we appreciate you guys tuning in today.
But it's just math.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Those guys. So cool, guys. We appreciate you. We'll wrap it up now. We will be back on tomorrow, and so catch us then. Thank you again, Stu.
Thank you, Stu.
Thanks,
we
guys.
appreciate
Cheers.
you.